broad, like it's just interesting.
Well, yeah, and a lot of them can go vote without identifying themselves. So, but
So let me just, can you tell me about the placards at the, just give me like, have you ever wondered why when you go to Yellowstone, that there's a plaque that says, like you told me yesterday, and then I also want you to tell me about the situation with the right to bear arms and what they're doing with soldiers.
we can go back for a moment and look at the veterans' plight in America today. You have undeclared wars ever since World War II, from Korea, Vietnam, Iraq, Afghanistan. All of those wars were undeclared, which means ultimately they are immoral, illegal acts of international war crimes committed by our government and facilitated by our service people who salute and obey orders no matter what the order is. So these undeclared wars indicate that the United States federal government is outside its founding legal charter. So the veterans that go to these wars are promised Veterans Administration benefits when they come home from the war, get out of the service, released from active duty, go back into the private sector as civilians. They have certain rights that the government had promised them. They have a right, for instance, if they are having bad dreams uh, related to their combat experiences in war, they have the right to petition the Veterans Administration to examine them to see if they have a curable diagnosis for PTSD. So the federal government has a plan through the VA system to invite these veterans to come into the VA, get tested. We will grant you a 30% rating, a 50% rating, a 100% rating, depending on how crazy your head is now that you have been in combat. But if you accept this rating, then you're admitting that you are mentally unstable, so you lose your Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. They are doing this through the VA system at an alarming high percentage of rate, so that they are disarming through the back door. It's backdoor disarmament of our very veterans who were trusted with guns while they were going over there to kill people. They can't be trusted with guns now. Now, Homeland Security has flat out said it in a document that was leaked in 2009 in April, advising law enforcement all over America returning war veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan need to be more closely surveilled. You need to pay attention to them, law enforcement. These guys could become radicalized. What they're meaning when they say that is that these guys may wake up and figure out we just sent their dumb butts to a very dangerous war situation, screwed with them, stressed them, some cases poisoned them with various battlefield uh, components, and now we're going to have to make sure that they don't have guns. That's where the federal government views today's veterans. So it is a very serious problem.
And so you're telling me some veterans can't even hunt legally?
Veterans, if you receive that letter from the VA, which accompanies you, and it's not just for PTSD. Let's just say you're a little absent-minded. Say, like in my case, I've got Agent Orange. I was sprayed with dioxin by the U.S. military while I was serving my country in Vietnam. Can't get it out of your system. It doesn't go away. It's a lifelong gift. I have a T-shirt that says Agent Orange Health Club Lifetime Member. Okay, it's a great T-shirt, and it's colored orange. But
what are symptoms?
Well, symptoms range everything from a long list of types of cancers associated with dioxin, but PTSD is another. emotional disorders, sleep disorders, uh, all kinds of skin diseases and organ malfunctions or disease. Dioxin, we put it this way, every time a train in this country that was carrying cars that were loaded with dioxin, anytime there's been a dioxin chemical spill in a train accident, whole towns have been evacuated to get them away from the exposure to this stuff. Okay?
So wait, if you go right now and ask for help, that you're, help from the government, you're losing rights.
If you go get
No, you, like in this situation.
me myself,
Yeah, like the Agent Orange. If you go.
yeah, oh, they will get me in. They'll add me belatedly into a class action lawsuit against 6 chemical companies, including Dow Chemical, and they will say, "Here's your portion of the settlement." I think the settlement, I really cannot remember. I think it was something like $800 million in 1985. I don't know what it is now, but that class action lawsuit, based on U.S. government science after the war, that proved that dioxin will do this to people. After that settlement, you are then advised that, well, you may have other problems, and here's your money, but you can't have a gun anymore. Okay? You might go ballistic on us. We can't have that. So to serve your country these days, if you suffer emotional trauma or psychological stress and you try to get help through the VA system for that, then you will lose your Second Amendment right. If you go to private sector doctors and get your healing treatment there, then the Veterans Administration has no power to deprive you of your Second Amendment right.
Right, but you gotta pay.
But then you have to pay. The government had promised that you wouldn't have to pay. Now, though, in today's modern warfare, you will pay according to your income once you're re-employed back in the civilian sector. You go to the VA now, you don't get carte blanche, you don't get full free medical the rest of your life, like World War II, Korea, and Vietnam did. Now, these wars these days, if you're working, they'll assess what your monthly payments will be out of your paycheck to get the VA care. Oh yeah. Now they've changed that. Because
Tell me about the placards, just to give an example for people of the irony.
I sometimes mention to friends a program that was officially launched in 1992, and George Herbert Walker Bush, President Bush 41, involved the United States in this by signing documents, which may or may not be lawful documents. But he signed us into a program produced by the United Nations called Agenda 21. This program is a program by a world governing body that seeks to use the World Court to override the U.S. Supreme Court in authority and to override our U.S. Constitution in authority. Okay? This program, Agenda 21, wants a one world government that's in the control of the people at the top of the pyramid of power. These elite cabal, a coterie of internationalist financiers who financed both sides of every war in the 20th century. They want to rule the world with the United Nations Charter, the United Nations Bill of Rights and Duties of the international citizen, and all the public lands, the national forest, the national parks are all subject now through hanky-panky in Washington, D.C. They're subject to United Nations EPA type controls. And to verify this for yourself, You can drive, and I've been up here and seen it myself, at Glacier National Park in northwest Montana. There is a bronze plaque embedded in stone, in a large stone, right outside the forest ranger's office, that is from UNESCO. This is a United Nations plaque explaining that the United Nations has a hand and plays a role in the management of all the land inside this park. So control has been invited in by U.S. presidents, has been invited in to states to manage lands that the federal government unlawfully took from the state in the first place to declare it a national park. Okay? So there again, everything goes back to the states themselves. As territories prior to statehood had to come up with a constitution, submit that constitution to the federal government. The federal government would either rewrite it for them or show them what changes they must make, or accept it as written. And then under the Enabling Act, relative to each state, the federal government would bring that territory into statehood. At that point, the federal government had an obligation to manage lands until the states could sell those lands or assume management of themselves, of their own land. The federal government is not supposed to permanently be in the management of any state's land, except for what's enumerated in Article 1, Section 8. There again, your highways. So
So we gotta go because you have 10 minutes, but can you sum up